So you see all these bar charts all over Instagram and Twitter and YouTube of all these super high revenue numbers and these 6-figure months or 7-figure months. But the bottom line is only your net profit matters, and it doesn't matter how much revenue you do, only what you take home is actually important. When you're first starting your Amazon business, if you're consumed with Amazon content on the internet, like on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you're watching it, everybody posts all these bar charts that show like these high revenue numbers, that they're a 6-figure seller, a 7-figure seller. Some of them are 8-figure sellers.
Kind of a big deal.
But the bottom line is, no matter how much you sell, if you're not actually making money and taking home profits, it doesn't matter that you're selling through that inventory and you're just literally posting bar charts. So don't get all caught up with these bar charts that you see of these high revenue months, because you actually want to sell less and make more, because you have to spend less if you're making more money with higher, more profitable inventory. Now, it's not perfect, and you're gonna make bad buys, and you're gonna have some SKUs that you barely take anything home on. And yes, you wanna keep the snowball going, but the most important thing is actually your bottom line or your net profits. All those revenue numbers don't mean anything until you actually start producing high profits. Most of these guys are producing anywhere from 10 to 15% net margins, which is great, but if you're doing $3 million a month even in revenue and you're making 3% margin, yeah, it's a lot of money, but you're spending a ton of money to get that inventory to get there. So this video is gonna be about how to actually increase your margins and how to look at your cash flow so you can make more money with spending less. So first of all, you need to have a really good overhead view of your cash flow. Cash flow is king, and a lot of sellers actually are dying a slow death because you're not actually making a lot of money, but your cash flow is so good or pretty good that it kind of hides the fact that you're not really making money, if that makes sense. Basically, once you get to be more of an advanced seller, you could request payouts every 24 hours. So that payout is covering your credit cards. You could buy more inventory, sell more, buy more inventory, and sell more. But a lot of you guys are blinded by your cash flow and not actually seeing how you're making money. You need to have a view of how much are you spending on your Amexes or on your credit cards or through wires every month? How much are you getting paid out? How much inventory do you have? Keep an eye on those three things. What you spend, what you're getting paid out, and how much inventory value that you have. And then all of those combined should equal a square number, and that's how much you're actually making. But it's hard to get that view because when you get your P&L on either Inventory Labs or Seller Board or any of those softwares, they're in different places on your net profit off of your sales versus how much inventory you have and your balances on your credit card. And if you have overhead like employees and payroll and stuff like that, it's another completely different equation. So most of you are actually dying a slow death and you don't realize it.
I am about to die.
But everybody else could tell because we're all buying Dove and all those different SKUs for around the same price. So if you're one of the sellers that's on the ASIN that is lower than what anybody is getting it for, like you're not getting 500 milliliter bottles of Dove for 99 cents. You're just, nobody is. So if you're one of those guys that's selling for a loss, you might not think you're selling for a loss, but you are, and you're just dying a slow death and your cash flow is actually hiding that from you, so you won't be around in a couple years.
I guess this is goodbye.
But if you want to make more money for your bottom line, you actually need to minimize the expenses that you can control. You can control how much software that you're wasting money on. All you really need is BuyBot Pro, Keepa, and Seller Board. That's really it. And it's like $100 a month, maybe. You don't need 9 different software subscriptions at $3,000 a month to make this business work. There's certain things that might be worth your time, such as easy inventory prep if you're shipping the inventory yourself, so that way you can get some time back because that's a part of the equation. But you want to have as little software as you possibly can and only the stuff you're using. Don't buy that $129 per month tactical arbitrage subscription. You're going to be wasting money. And there's a lot just like that, like the $500 repricer that I don't even know the name of, that you just don't need, and Weeds List and all these other things. You don't need them. The next thing that you could save a lot of money on is boxes. If you're an online arbitrage or wholesale seller, you should be reusing as many boxes as you can. When we were doing retail arbitrage, I was spending $1,000 a week on boxes. Yeah, $1,000 a week on boxes, almost. Now with online arbitrage and wholesale, I've maybe spent like $200 on boxes in the past 3 months. Save money where you can. Additionally, you're gonna wanna save money on labor, whether it's VAs or whether it's warehouse employees or people to help you prep, whatever it may be. You wanna save money on labor because those are expenses that you can control. You can't control the price tanking, you can try to minimize that, but you can control expenses like this, such as labor, because you don't need people getting paid to sit around and do nothing. Think about things like that. Additionally, the last thing that you can really do to minimize your cash flow is actually minimize your returns. Now, if you're selling in those high return categories such as apparel, shoes, electronics, things like that that people return a lot, you can actually get a buyback program from your electronics vendor if you have a legit one, which most of you don't. Or you can minimize those returns by not selling in those high-risk categories or having a really good system to sell your returns off on eBay or send them back into Amazon or charge a restocking fee, whatever it may be. There's certain things like that that you could do to minimize those things, and those are where you're really losing money. And trust me, in 2022, I lost more money than probably everybody watching this video on returns. But if I would have had a system in place, I probably could have mitigated 60 to 70% of it.
You live, you learn.
The next thing that you could do to actually increase your profits is stop dropping the price on your inventory. Stop setting your repricer at drop by a penny. Stop being the first one to race to the bottom because you can't hold. You already paid to have somebody find the item for you if you're in the scaling phase, or you spent your time to find the item. Then you bought that item. Then you prepped that item, you stored that item, you put a poly bag around it or whatever it may be, put it in a box that you probably paid for, then paid to ship that item into Amazon. Now you're paying storage fees and you're gonna drop the price by a penny because your item hasn't sold in two weeks. Just leave the item and let it sell because you can see how much stock people have on Keepa. That's the big thing here. Don't drop the price and be the quickest one, because there's even SKUs that I do it where we were selling the product for $67 and then a week later, after I got sick of waiting and held out, the buy box is at $87. We just lost like $15 margin there just because I couldn't wait a week.
What? I'm sorry, I fudged up, guys.
The last thing that you need to do to actually make more money is to never use services like Payability. They take a percentage of your revenue to give you better cash flow. Even with interest rates at like 9%, go get a loan from the bank so you can make more money, or an Amazon loan if you really need it. Don't go and take something like Payability to get your cash better when you're literally losing like 1 to 3% of your top line revenue. That's a lot more than you think it is, and you don't need it. You just need to be smarter with your cash flow, or get a plum card, or get net terms, anything else. Never use Payability. So we just went over like 5 to 10 different things of how to actually increase your bottom line and make more money. The way to make more is by spending more and buying more inventory, but it doesn't matter how much revenue you do, it matters how much you take home. So you want to minimize the things that you can that are costing you money, so that way you can make the most profit for your business long term. That's it for this video about how to increase your bottom line. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.